President, I appreciate the first off the bill that came out of the Ag Committee. It was a consensus product. There was a lot of bipartisan support for it. I think it's important that we move it forward. And what's happening here now is really delaying something that's of critical timing to the producers in this country who need to know what the rules are before they go into the planting season next year. And by running out the clock, which essentially we've done this week, and unless we come to some agreement on amendments, we're going to lose next week, and then we're into December, and it's going to be awfully difficult to get a bill conferenced and on the President's desk before the end of the year. But I, for one, have an amendment along with Senator Domenici and Senator Nelson that has been filed, and so I would say to my friend from Iowa that we are more than happy if the leadership on the majority side would be agreeable to us calling amendments up. But as was noted by my colleague from Georgia, the current state of play here is that they have filled the amendment tree, thereby making it impossible for us to get amendments called up, pending, under consideration, debated, and voted upon. But I have one that I think is very important. It's very relevant. You talked about amendments that are relevant to the Farm Bill that would expand the renewable fuel standard. It's something that was supported by the Senate in the energy bill. I have my doubts about whether or not we're going to get an energy bill this year, but I can't think of anything that is more important to farm country right now than making sure that we have a higher renewable fuel standard, and particularly in the short term. 2008 is critical. We're already at 7.5 billion gallons where the current renewable fuel standard sits. That was passed in 2005. We're going to and have eclipsed that. And if we don't raise this renewable fuel standard in 2008 in the short term, we're going to have a terrible, terrible crunch out there. And we're already seeing ethanol plants that are stopping construction, those that are under construction that have stopped it. We've got some, I know of one in North Dakota that ceased operations for a while because the margins aren't there. This is a very relevant amendment to the underlying Farm Bill, one that would strengthen the energy title in the bill, and one which is critically important from a timing standpoint to producers across this country and those who would invest in the renewable energy industry. And I would add, Mr. President, because I think this is a very important point, not just for farm country, not just for our farmers who and those in rural areas of this country who have benefited from ethanol production economically, but also it's important for our energy security. We've got a very, very serious problem. Oil is approaching $100 a barrel. And we need to be increasing the amount of renewable energy that we produce, homegrown energy in this country, so that we can lessen that dependence upon foreign energy. We have an opportunity to do that. And the ethanol industry in this country has done remarkably well, thanks in large part, I think, to the renewable fuel standard that was enacted in 2005. But it's outlived. We've been overtaken by events. We're blowing by that 7.5 billion gallons. We need to get the new renewable fuel standard in place. The amendment that we have offered would, it's a bipartisan amendment, would do that. It would get us to 8.5 billion gallons in 2008, which is critically important. We are running into a wall out there, and it is dramatically affecting the ability of this industry to compete and to make sure that it continues to operate profitably and move us in a direction that lessens our dependence upon foreign energy. So I would simply say to my colleagues, to the senator from Iowa, the chairman of the committee, the ranking Republican, Senator Chambliss, that it would be very advisable and I think advantageous for us to be able to come to some agreement on amendments, because delaying this in the end is not an option. We cannot afford to go into next year without a farm bill. And I'd like to see this amendment considered, and I hope that the majority would make way for us to be able to offer amendments. This whole notion of filling the tree, I'm not sure exactly what that accomplishes other than to shut us down, at least in the short term. So I would simply say that we have an amendment. We're ready to do business as soon as the other side decides that they want to open up this bill for amendment. So I would hope that we can do that and do it soon.
Mr. President.
The senator from Kansas.